All right, so today we're going to be talking to Mel Kirk, COO of Zen Studios. They just recently had a new episode of the Pinball Show come out. Lots of great news and information that we're going to be discussing today. Some major information that a lot of you have been asking, demanding for, specifically regarding updates to the Pinball FX ports for the consoles. So first of all, gotta say hello, welcome, Mel. How are you, sir?
Hey, Doug. Doing well. Happy I can join you here. I'm actually in the office in Budapest. Flew in from California yesterday, so glad we could arrange the time to make this work.
Thank you. I appreciate that greatly, sir, because I know that is a huge time jump for you and everything. So appreciate you taking the time out of your day. So let's just get right into it. I watched the latest episode. Lots of great information for anybody that hasn't seen the new Pinball Show episode. Definitely go check it out. But those of you tuning in, maybe haven't seen the new episode, you're wondering what the console release date is going to be for your favorite console, whether it be Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, you name it. Mel, can you go ahead and give us a rundown of the news and information regarding the Pinball FX release dates for the consoles?
Yeah. So on the console side, February 16 is your day for Xbox and PlayStation. Now that's PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X and S, and Xbox One. And then we'll officially graduate Pinball FX from early access on the Epic Game Store. And then looking out ahead after that, we have more optimization work to do on Nintendo Switch. So that's coming. Right now we're saying April. That's our goal, and hopefully we hit that.
Nice, nice. So you've got tentative release dates for all the major consoles out there, including all the silly nomenclature for the Xbox systems, X, S, R, Q, L. It gets confusing, I know.
It even confuses me still at this point.
Yeah. So and I keyed in on something you said, you're also going to be kind of removing the nomenclature of early access. So Pinball FX is going to be full on, ready to go alpha.
That's right. We went into early access in March, and it's a good thing we did. We had a lot of stuff to sort out, and a lot of things we needed to try. The game's extremely network heavy, so just from a user experience standpoint, if we would have released this across consoles and PC day one, I think we'd have a lot of people not happy. So thank you for bearing with us. But yeah, we're graduating from early access, and it's going to be considered a full release on PC.
Great, great. So does that mean for the consoles, all the available Pinball FX tables that are currently out there on the market, are those going to be available day one for the consoles, or will there be any kind of like waiting period for those?
No, everything's going to be there day one. So if it's there right now in early access, it'll be there day one on Xbox and PlayStation, and then in Switch, because there'll be more releases between now and then on all these platforms as well. But yeah, it's a robust table lineup. I think right now today, as we're talking, there's 67 tables. We're going to be releasing more in December. Obviously, we'll get to that, but everything's coming.
So I know there's probably a lot of people out there that are playing Pinball FX early release right now on the Epic Game Store. I know there's a lot of people that are fans of the Steam clientele in the storefront. Is there any news or information regarding when those Steam fans could potentially get access to Pinball FX in the future?
I don't have any definitive news or dates about Steam. So once we're ready to talk about that, I'll be able to share. Obviously, it's a platform that we've supported historically. So if you wanted to make a guess, I think you could.
Gotcha. Now, is the goal for Pinball FX to kind of have like a symmetrical experience across all platforms, whether it be PC, console, that way a user basically has the same kind of features and functionality and experience on Pinball FX, regardless of the platform they're playing?
Yeah, absolutely. That's really important to us. A lot of our features are cross-platform enabled, so it doesn't matter where you're playing. You'll be playing with the entire Pinball FX audience. But yeah, that's what we're going for. The game needs to, have feature parity. I know that there's a big question in, whenever you want to talk about it with cabinet support, and people are also asking about that for consoles. All that stuff's in the works, and the game should be feature parity across the board.
So yeah, you mentioned it, cabinet mode. That's a big thing for the PC user specifically. You guys, like I said, have had great support of it in the past. Obviously, it's still in the kind of the beta stages on the early access, so it's kind of got training wheels, so to speak. That's the best way I could describe it. So it's not full tilt, full featured yet. So you guys are still working on cabinet mode, future implementation, and features functionality rollouts for updates later on?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it's a great analogy what you just said. It's got training wheels on it right now. It's not where I want it to be or anyone on the team. However, we got it working and functional, and we released it, and we had to go to console ports just because time is going by so fast, and there's a lot of things that we wanted to do that just haven't been done yet. But we are swinging back around to it, and I tell you, whenever I can in our cabinet community, that we will support you. It's going to be the best cabinet mode that you've experienced from Pinball FX to date by the time we're done. Not to say we'll ever be done with it. I don't know. I think that it's something that we just keep working on and adding things, because there are like a bazillion things that we want to do. I know that we're going to turn on, vertical monitor support on Xbox and PlayStation. Some people want to put their Xbox and PlayStation in their pin cab, or just flip their TV, tape mode. So across the board, cabinet mode is going to get a lot of time and a lot of investment and support from us long term.
That's awesome. That was going to be a follow-up question I had, but you already hit the nail on the head as far as being able to turn portrait mode on for the consoles, because that's one of my favorite ways to play on the Nintendo Switch, is having that portrait tape mode aspect. And I know there's a lot of Xbox and PlayStation fans out there that would absolutely love to do the same, like you said, whether it be putting it inside a pin cab or just rotating their TV. I know a lot of people also have like multifunctional setups where they've got their console of choice next to their computer rig and maybe hooked up to the same computer monitor that maybe just able to swivel so they can easily play pinball games and do their normal computing. So that's great news. I'm glad to hear that. I assume you guys have seen also lots of stuff in the community out there as far as the third-party support they've created with your previous cabinet mode releases for things like haptic feedback and surround sound. DOF links, I think, is the appropriate thing out there, and the terminology that's coming out there as far as implementing surround sound and force feedback, haptic feedback for the current iteration of the cabinet mode in Pinball FX3. Have you guys seen that kind of stuff in the community? Have you taken note of it? Have you said, maybe there's some way we can implement something like that on our own?
Yeah, absolutely. We get all this feedback that comes in, and there's kind of this running list of ideas and things that we know that we need to do. But we were very tuned in with the DIY community. In fact, I don't know if you see this machine behind me. That's one that Aklish and Lena built, and it was a good try. It's awesome. But we love all the experimentation and all the new things that people try to do, even into the virtual pin community and others. So we want everybody to play Pinball FX, regardless of what device they're playing on. We want it to feel authentic and good. And so, yeah, we'll figure out how to support all that. And it's a lot of fun to, for us, it's a point of interaction for a community in a way to stay in touch with our biggest players. So it makes sense that we'd support them. And yes, we will.
So another thing that I've been a fan of with your guys' new Pinball FX early release is the newer tables and their updated scoring display. So it's not just your bare bones generic dot matrix type of display. You get little animations, a little more colorful display. Is that something you guys have talked about potentially retroactively rolling back for other tables as an option? So things like Circus Voltaire behind you, obviously probably not the best example since the DMD is kind of built into the table, but let's say Theater of Magic having an updated scoreboard that has animations and color versus the standard dot matrix display that we've had in the past. Is that something you guys have talked about?
We've talked about how do we support the games that we've already made and released with the new technology with the HD video player built in. I think there's more focus on what are we doing with new content going forward and how do we do that. We announced Godzilla vs Kong a while ago, and there'll be some more news coming around about that. But I think the way that we utilize an HD player for something like that versus like Theater of Magic, I think we're just more interested to push limits with new things. We always have so many things to do. It's hard to focus sometimes. So to go back and fix, like do something new to something that's older, I just don't know that like anyone's excited to do that. But if we had enough demand and people really wanted to see it, I think that we'd consider doing it.
That's a fair point, because I can easily see that being low on the totem pole as far as structure of where to throw resources to and implement. It was kind of like a personal thing for me, because I absolutely love what you guys are doing with the HD display. And it's one of those things like you like it so much, you want to see it across the board, but I get it. I honestly much rather, if I had to personally choose between you guys deviating resources to recreating dot matrix updated HD displays for the older tables versus creating new things like Godzilla versus King Kong, I'll probably go for the new tables myself. So
okay, cool.
I completely understand that as well. One thing I did key in on the latest episode of the Pinball Show, I believe you mentioned there's going to be some new pricing and structure for the Pinball Pass, and as well as the way we purchase games moving forward with the new release on the consoles as well as PC. Right now, if you're accustomed to buying individual tables on Pinball FX Early Access, you're used to buying tickets, but that may be changing. Do I understand that correctly?
Yeah, that's changing, and that's obviously a fairly significant move on our part. After this early access period, which again was super important for us, we just decided that it seems like the community would rather just buy tables straightforward and from the stores as opposed to tickets. Even though we thought we built some pretty cool things in with the ticket system, the discounting and bundles and all that stuff dynamically, and being able to release content faster. But at the end of the day, it wasn't what people wanted. So it's important for us just to pivot, recognize the feedback, and we're moving away from the tickets for the core purchase experience. The ticket system will still be there for things like Pinball Pass, which is your cross-commerce system, if you will. If you want to play your games across any platform, you can. But in order for us to do that, you're going to pay for tickets. And then there might be other things in the future where we can gift tickets just for things that'll go on in the game and smaller items, customizations, whatnot. But yeah, pinball tables, real money from the storefront that you're used to buying from. No more tickets.
So yeah, that's great news. Anybody out there that was anti-tickets, you don't have to worry about that. Is there a hardline date of when that change is going to take over?
I believe it's going to be February 16 when we release on Xbox and PlayStation. So the game will become native. From there, you won't have any tickets that you'll have messed with to buy tables. On the Epic Game Store, that's likely the same date as well. So if you want to use those ticket balances to redeem whatever we're putting out between now and then, that's the target. And if you don't, we've got something planned to take care of you, and more details on that as we get closer.
Okay, so anybody that does have an outstanding balance of tickets in their queue, you've got a plan for them to do something with that balance later on, right?
Correct. Details still be getting sorted out. Some of it will be manual, some of it will be automatic. But depending, look, all you guys who joined us in early access, we're going to make sure everything is all cool. We don't expect you to, have spent money that you can't use or access the content where you want it. So our commitment is to make it right.
Good. So no one's going to be out there high and dry with a bunch of tickets that they can't use for anything. So that's good.
I got to Venmo you myself. I will.
All right. I appreciate that update. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much. So one thing I also noticed, you're talking about the Pinball Pass specifically with the cross commerce and everything. So does that mean I can subscribe to Pinball Pass and buy tables on PlayStation and still have access to those, say, if I have an Xbox? Did I hear that correctly?
Not quite. So if you subscribe to Pinball Pass, whether you're monthly or an annual subscriber, you're going to log into that same account wherever you are, Xbox, PlayStation, eventually Nintendo Switch, or on PC. That's the subscription. If you buy tables, those are not going to be cross-commerce, as we're saying. So if you buy it on PlayStation, you're going to get it on PlayStation. We were going for cross-commerce, obviously, with the ticket system, but just with the kind of overall feedback we were getting, it seemed like that wasn't even enough to make people want the ticket system. So buying tables is going to be only where you buy it. But if you subscribe, that's a connective tissue that will get you tables across the board. I hope that's making sense.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So subscribers to the Pinball Pass are going to have access across the board, but individual table purchases still going to be tied down to the exclusive system console of choice.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks. It's probably what I was meant to ask and meant to clarify, but you reworded that much better than me. So I appreciate it.
I get it. And some of this has been confusing
absolutely.
With what we're trying. But I'll just say we were trying to, our intent and our goal was to provide the best value that we could. If you bought a pinball table, we want you to play it wherever you are, wherever you do. It's been a long request. The ticket system was something that we felt would unlock that. And now obviously we're rolling that back. So there's no path forward for buying it and playing anywhere. But if you subscribe, you can play anywhere. Yeah.
So this is going to be a personal question for me, not related to the latest episode of the Pinball Show. This is just something I've got to ask as a Star Wars fan. Is there any hope or chance that we're going to ever see a Star Wars Episode 9 Rise of Skywalker table? I mean, we've got a Star Wars represented table for pretty much every movie, television show, and iteration of Star Wars up until this point, except for the final chapter in the Skywalker saga. And it just feels weird not having that final piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, I can't say yes or no, but I'll say that, we love our Star Wars pinball. We love working on it. Working with Lucasfilm is always a blast. So we'll just see what the future brings. But I will take your request, and it's duly noted.
All right, appreciate it. Like I said, I knew I was going to get that kind of response, but I had to ask as a Star Wars fan. Like I said, I need that book ending chapter. So I thank you for appeasing the answer for me. So you guys also had another massive announcement on the pinball show. Not talking about consoles, we're just talking about tables now. The most famous pinball table, arguably of all time, Addams Family. You guys are releasing your version of it. I gotta imagine this has been in the works for a very long time for you guys. Like I said, it's the most popular, highest selling pinball machine of all time. So it seems like low hanging fruit that you guys would be working on a digital creation of this. How long have you guys been working on this? And does this feel like the biggest relief burden to get off your shoulders finally to announce that you guys are releasing the wonderful Addams Family pinball cabinet?
Yeah, it's a huge relief. It's right up there with Indy, which is behind me right here. I'll say that yeah, there's a lot of challenges. We did a really good job with it, and it's a huge relief. It's a game that obviously people expect. When we got the Williams license, I think this is what people had in mind, that we would be able to release games like the Addams Family, Indiana Jones, other games that are difficult on the licensing front, but it takes a lot of time. I don't know, we had to deal with all the estates, we had to deal with actors, we had to deal with music, with companies that own rights in very specific things. So there's a lot of rights holders, and we, got it all arranged. So yeah, we are missing one character. I don't know if you want to talk about that at all, but
yeah. So you made mention of it on the pinball show that you got all the returning actors, actresses, except for one. Who's missing?
So it's Uncle Fester, Christopher Lloyd, and otherwise it's a 100% authentic game with all the voices, all the music, and all the other art and everything. But unfortunately, Mr. Lloyd didn't want to participate. So I don't know.
I mean, sometimes your hands are tied. I get it. And historically, I think that has been a challenge in the past as well. But the great news is call outs, music, gameplay, rules, all that's going to be the exact same, everything that people know and love, right?
Yeah, that's all there. And so the authentic experience is beautifully, masterfully done. And then our kind of enhanced or remake version of it, which we try to do to, not my daughters never played these machines, and sometimes it feels flat to them. But when I make things move around and fly like they're used to, they
animations.
So I think the remastered version that we did is really, really cool.
Well, I like that you guys also allow it as a toggleable choice. You're not forced into one box or the other. If you like the remastered version or you like the plain Jane version, the OG, if you will, you can choose whatever suits your fancy. And like you said, for the younger audience, the more bells and whistles and animatronics and displays and things moving on screen, that might captivate their attention. And honestly, is whatever's getting the younger audience into pinball, I think that's a win. So when can
obviously, I think you've seen that. We try to grow the pinball audience, definitely.
So when can we expect to see Addams Family release, if anybody hadn't seen the latest episode of the Pinball Show?
Yeah, Addams Family is releasing February 16th. That'll be out on Xbox, PlayStation, and Epic Game Store. It's kind of like our, I guess our anchor release that we're excited about, just to celebrate the launch of that. And, when we launch a Pinball FX platform on a new console or something, you can expect that we'll have something big and exciting to coincide.
And you guys are not only releasing Addams Family coming up soon, you're also bringing over some of the DreamWorks tables. Is that correct?
That's correct. Those DreamWorks games that were on Zen Pinball Party on Apple Arcade for the last year or so, making the jump. That's Trolls, How to Train Your Dragon, and Kung Fu Panda. And all three of these are a lot of fun. I think they're going to add a really, trying to build a diverse lineup in Pinball FX where there's a pinball game for everyone. I think this helps us in a good step in that direction.
Absolutely. And definitely for the younger audience too. Like you said, again, growing that pinball audience. But this is great news for anybody out there that wasn't maybe an iOS user, or maybe, just didn't have access to the Apple application. It's no longer exclusive to the Apple App Store, so you can be able to play it on your console or PC of choice. So that's great news for anybody that hasn't played those games. I personally have them on my phone and I enjoy playing. It's a great car ride. Kung Fu Panda is absolutely hilarious. I love the call outs from Poe on that one specifically. And oddly enough, I found myself playing the Trolls game like way more than I should as a grown adult, because not particularly attached to the Trolls franchise, but for whatever reason, it shoots like a dream with the multiple lanes up the middle and everything. So I found that one to be pretty fun. So I'm excited to play that on my cabinet. So that's good news for me. Is Snoopy coming as well? Did I hear that? Snoopy Pinball?
Yeah. Peanuts Snoopy Pinball, the official name. That's also coming in December to early access, and then we'll release on consoles. And this is actually one of my favorite. Growing up as a kid, Snoopy was really important to me, and Peanuts as a franchise. I've got some awesome art hanging up my wall at home. So this was kind of like a dream passion project to be able to do. And I'm really excited that this will be available to a wider audience.
Awesome. Awesome. And correct me if I'm wrong, there may be one table still outstanding that Garfield, is that still kind of tied to the Zen Pinball Party app?
We got to pace ourselves.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess, Adam's Family and, all these other exclusive table releases and, your newest release, Wrath of the Gods. I mean, I guess I'd cut you some slack and say that's a sufficient release, and console Pinball FX news, I guess that's good enough.
Yeah. So yeah, Garfield is still out there. And actually on launch day, there's 2 tables that we haven't even announced yet that will also be there on February 16th. So okay. There's a lot. So, I don't know if you follow, but I mean, our pinball team has grown tremendously. We've got a lot of pinball tables coming, so it's exciting.
That's great news, and lots of pinball ways to play now that the consoles are coming soon, and new updates with cabinet modes in the horizon. So a lot of good things, and you mentioned Godzilla, King Kong. There's a lot of other things that have already been announced that we haven't seen. So that's great. It's a great day for pinball. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. It's cool. Just we got to get the platform out. Pinball FX is taking longer than any of us would have expected or wanted to take in development, but we're there. It's going to be coming out, and then my hope is then everyone can just enjoy all the tables and playing together. All the cool features that, like the score chase is back now, and that's awesome, and I love it, and it makes the game feel so much more vibrant. So just these little. Well, they're not little. They're actually big features when you think about how many leaderboards and how many tables and all this stuff. But it just takes time to make sure it's done right. So we're almost there.
So now that you had some time with the Pinball FX early release, what do you think are the biggest learning experiences that you guys have had as a team, whether it be just community feedback or working on stuff on the back end, release structure? Because you tried a bunch of new things that you've done with Pinball FX that you hadn't done in the past. What have been the biggest things you guys have learned from this experience with the new Pinball FX platform?
Yeah, I think, there's a couple ways to slice it. One, the way you monetize is really important, and the way we communicate is probably even more important. So we made some, some missteps, I think, in there, which got the ticket system off to, a wrong start. But I'm glad that we were able to try it and test it, because we did find some value in it, and we unlocked the way that we can do cross-commerce. So like, while it might, some people are going to chalk this up as, Zen failed. Well, I think actually a lot of good things will come out of it. And so what we've learned in early access is just not to be so presumptive. And if we're going to make a big change, like people have been buying tables a certain way for 10 years, we better do a really good job of presenting it why. And so going forward, if we ever, make big changes to game, or we want to introduce some new things, we'll probably take more time to just figure out how we're going to present it to our players before we just, not that we rushed it out, but we were just feeling, a sense of urgency because things have been taking so long. So certain aspects of it didn't get so big. Does that all make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Like I said, I get the analogy where you said where people have been buying tables a certain way for 10 years and all of a sudden, things changing on them. Obviously change is a scary thing for some people. So anything that gets out of the norm in that aspect, especially for something as, tenuous as payment structure, can be a little unnerving. I get that. But yeah, I'm glad you guys have taken note of that. You're taking that to heart. Because yeah, that's one thing I remember seeing was the confusion amongst the ticket system. What does this mean? What are the fine details? There was a lot of confusion when it first rolled out. But I always applaud you guys. You always have your Reddit forum going constantly. Anytime somebody has to ask questions, you do a good job of communicating with your updates. Maybe not as timely as everybody wants, but I think you guys do a great job with the Pinball Show, giving relevant information, giving sneak peeks on news and information regarding updates and new table releases and announcements, things like that. So I applaud you in that effort. So
cool.
Keep up the good work is what I'm saying, because I know it's a massive team effort. And it's easy to stand on the other side of the computer monitor or the keyboard and say, well, that's not the information I wanted or needed or whatever. But I understand completely. Things are always in motion, and it's not like you guys are literally sitting with your feet up on the chair just going, maybe we'll work today, maybe we won't.
No, I can guarantee you are right on that. There's so much. It's I was just thinking about what is this like, and it's kind of like an orchestra. But we got the game, which is a platform. We got the content, which is all the tables. And we got all the channels you got to distribute on. You got the licensors, which you got to coordinate, and they all got to be on board with. Like, if we pick February 16, we got to get Lucasfilm and Marvel and NBC and all the other new licensors, and to all agree to that. And then then something breaks and we got to fix it.
And all it takes is one person with an out of office email that throws everything out the window, because it's like, Judy took a vacation. Now everything's pumping the brakes because we got to wait for Judy to sign off on this. I get it.
Oh yeah.
Mel,
it's chaos sometimes.
Is there anything else you want to talk about or mention before we sign off? Once again, I gotta say thank you for taking the time to talk about pinball and the new Pinball FX console release and the updates and the news coming. Is there anything you want to plug or talk about before we go?
I'll just say, to our players, if you're watching this and you've been a long time supporter of Zen, thank you for sticking with us during early access, and for just being on this pinball journey with us. If you're not, and you're brand new to Zen and you want to check out my game, we invite you into the Pinball FX community. We hope you find a table that grabs a hold of you, makes you love the game as much as we do, and so thanks for having me, Doug.